Fingers of lightning tore holes in the black skies as an angry cloudburst drenched the surrealistic landscape. It was 3 a.m. on a cold, wet morning in late November 1967, and the little houses scattered along the dirt road winding through the hills of West Virginia were all dark. Some seemed unoccupied and in the final stages of decay. Others were unpainted, neglected, forlorn. The whole setting was like the opening scene of a grade B horror film from the 1930s. That's the beginning of The Mothman Prophecies by John A. Keel. And that's a fascinating story. If you're unfamiliar with it, you might want to check it out. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Stench of Truth. And I want to talk about the war in Afghanistan and Wikileaks releasing over 90,000 documents, secret, classified, etc. Now, in the discussion that is going on about this, it seems that we're missing the bigger picture, or at least the media and all the pundits who want to join in the discussion on this are missing the bigger picture. When we look at the totality of what has been released, and that is indications that show that there have been cover-ups of civilian deaths, that the resistance in Afghanistan has access to better weaponry than we've been led to believe, and also that there is a great deal of other activity that is going on behind the scenes in this war, has all been cause for consternation and for a lot of talk and a lot of discussion as to what it all means and how it can be placed in context, and even whether or not what WikiLeaks is releasing is accurate and presents a true picture of what's going on there. But I think the bigger picture here is that what we're looking at is not supposed to be a breakdown of what we're doing wrong or what we're doing right in a war that is being fought. I think what we're failing to realize, well, I'm sure a lot of you do realize this, is that the war itself is totally not justified at this point in time. The war itself needs to end. Not the activities that are going on, under the guise of warfare. Not all of these things, even though they are atrocities, even though they represent, the worst possible outcomes of any kind of armed conflict. All of that is terrible, but what is more terrible is that the war continues, is that NATO continues to be involved in a quagmire in Afghanistan with no foreseeable way out. And it is further augmented in a strange way by the release of all this information by WikiLeaks, because it causes people to question the minutia of the entire scenario rather than focusing on the real important matter, and that is on the war itself and how it needs to end. One thing you can be absolutely sure of, if there is any indication in the release of these documents, in these documents themselves, that we have special forces and, extensive activity inside Pakistan, that you can bet it is in fact going on. There probably is, black budget activity going on inside Iran right now. There probably have been hundreds, maybe thousands, who knows how many civilian deaths covered up in Iraq caused by coalition forces. All of the things that have been brought out in these documents probably happened in Iraq, in Pakistan, and in other places where the United States has been involved in warfare. I think we need to focus on the central picture here, instead of looking at the minutia and deciding what's a war crime and what isn't. What we need to focus on is it's time to end the wars. It's time to end the bloodshed. Rather than worrying about how many civilians were killed and how it was covered up, there's time enough to investigate those potential war crimes if they happened. After we have decided to end a boondoggle affair in Afghanistan, a war that cannot be won, and it is even supported by the documentation that Wikileaks has brought out, that there is a great sense amongst the people writing these documents that this war is a lost cause. That is what it is. It's a lost cause. Can we stop the bleeding right now? Can we push forward and demand that we stop fighting these wars that do nothing but continue death and destruction, and continue to cost lives and money and resources and material that could all be put to better use? Let's not focus on the minutia. Let's not decide whether or not this is a factual thing or, some sort of grand disinformation campaign. Let's use this opportunity to focus on the illegality of the war itself and the need for the killing to stop. Thank you. Good night.